Ambassador Obishakin, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for inviting me, Channel TV.
Thank you very much. I just want to get in with my first question, sir. The focus is slowly changing to the humanitarian situation on both sides. For Israel, it's recovering bodies. For Hamas and for those who live in Gaza, they are also recovering bodies and still facing the reality of Israeli airstrikes and shelling. On the side are people calling for peace. Tell me, how are you processing what happened this weekend and the aftermath? What's your take on it?
Well, first and foremost, as a Nigerian diplomat, career ambassador, I must express deep sympathy and condolences to both sides of this unfortunate, what I would call fratricidal war between the two sons of Abraham. It's unfortunate that we are hearing 1,300 on one side, children, women are dying. You know, it's unfortunate. It's difficult for us to process, especially Nigerians. They have interest on both sides. You know, our policy has always been the two-state solution. You know, one state being Arab, Palestinian, and another state being Israeli, both of them living peacefully side by side, according to the UN resolution of 1947. And nobody will be happy to hear that people who are celebrating, you know, biblical things, historical, cultural things were being killed. But then when you look at the history, you know, there have been at least 7 wars now between Israel and the Arab world. The 1948-49 immediately got independence. The 1956 Suez Crisis. The 1967 Six-Day War. The 1973, the Yom Kippur War. And this one looks like it, because it was a surprise war and attack too. Then 1982 Lebanon War, which Israel had to invade southern Lebanon. And then the second Lebanon War of 2006. But the world was thinking that they were getting over it. But you know, when you have people who want their land, and you have the UN that has promised to give a land, a nation, to Palestine, and they are not getting it, it's frustration. And that's why you can see what Hamas has done. It's not, nobody will like children, women being killed, and then people being bombarded in their sleep. But you have to look very, very deep into this.
Ambassador Obishakin, I want you mentioned a two-state solution, right? The Israeli government has said it's not focused on that issue with Palestine for now. It's been shelved, if you will, even though many have seized this opportunity to call for a two-state solution now to end further bloodshed. How can you imagine both sides returning to the negotiating table after this?
Well, they have to return, because this is an unwinnable war. Because this war has been on now for years, and in fact, predates the creation of Israel. There is a fact of the clash of civilization, and that's why Nigeria can be of help, since we are friends to both sides. You know, Israel has to, we can understand, because for several years, Israel has not been this killed. But then, the Palestinians have been killed. We have to be fair. They've been killed in thousands. In their sleep, they've been frustrated. The UN has a great portion of the blame in this matter. The UN had promised a state to the Palestine, and they've not got it yet. The Oslo Agreement didn't give them. I was in Israel for about 5 years as a diplomat, and I know what it is. I was even a victim of the Intifada in 1987. I was leading a delegation of Nigerian Christians, and we're there in Jerusalem, and then the pilgrims insisted I must take them out to buy things. I said, well, there's Intifada. We were captured, but what saved me was that Nigeria was a friend to both the Palestine. They asked me to call to prayer in Islamic mode, and of course I do know. That when you say Allah Akbar, whatever I say next is good.
That is a huge relief.
It's affecting every one of us. They must find a solution to it. Israel cannot say, I know it's an emotional outburst. They've seen blood, but then they just have to negotiate it. It has to be negotiated. Negotiation always ends all war.
Ambassador, now the U.S. has sent a plane full of ammunition to Israel, even though it warns others not to take advantage of the situation in Israel. And I posed this question to somebody earlier. It is indirectly, do you feel that it's indirectly helping Israel fight this war?
Yeah, it is. That's why I say it is an unwinnable war. You see, what I was going to say was that every diplomat prays that its domestic battle problem should not be internationalized. Unfortunately, this has been internationalized. And what is, it's also a typical example of the hypocrisy of multilateral diplomacy. I must tell you, my professor of international relations of blessed memory said that when you want to deal with a nation, take that nation to the multilateral forum. There, you can do something, surreptitiously, vote against them, campaign against them, and when the result comes against that nation that you don't like, you say your hands are tied. It was agreed at the multilateral area. The U.S. is like a father. It's a UN, the USA. The USA is part of the permanent members of the Security Council. They are the police of the world. But then the UN declared yesterday through President, the US declared yesterday through President Joe Biden that they stand strongly by Israel, and they've signed their asset, one of the greatest, to the Mediterranean, to support Israel. And we even heard now that the first set of armament has been given to Israel. There's no doubt. Everybody has a choice. You can choose your friends. But then how can the U.S. also become a mediator?
Right. So, Ambassador, what should international organizations then do, such as the UN, other than calling for cessation of hostilities? What role do you think they should be playing?
Yes. You see, it's true Israel has the right to defend itself, but then they don't have the right to annihilate it. The Geneva Convention on War does not allow people to do collective punishment, to stop water supply, gas supply, power supply to Gaza, which is not yet, a state, And then look at it. The UN should call for, but it's difficult to stop. It's I will use an African proverb, a Nigerian proverb. When you are holding the leg, the bony leg, but well roasted of a goat, if you throw it away, they will say, oh, how dare you throw juicy meat away? But if you are eating it, say, how, old man like you, why are you laboring so hard to eat ordinary bone? You see, it's a dangerous situation that the world is now. And I can tell you, it's like Armageddon in waiting. Because the U.S. says no other power, no other party should come, but it is supply arms. We have to be fair. We have to be fair. It's a dangerous situation. But who is going to judge the U.S.? It's a world power. But we just hope that some powerful countries will not feel sufficiently, encouraged to wade into this war. It might then become the Third World War. Or, as some theologians say, the Gog and Magog War of Ezekiel and Revelation chapter 14. It may be towards the close of the war itself. It's
Ambassador,
a dangerous moment we are in now.
Ambassador Lawrence Obishakin, thank you very much for joining us.